This is a fifth of an 8-part series previewing the Detroit Lions' positional needs and priorities heading into the NFL Draft. The installments are ordered by need, starting with where help is needed the least and ending, well, you get the idea. Today, receivers. Previously, 8. Quarterbacks, 7. Running backs, 6. Linebackers, 5. Defensive backs, current starters, Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones, AmendolaCurrent reserves, Brandon Powell, Tommylee Lewis, Andy Jones, Chris Lacy, Deontez Alexander, Brandon Riley. Notable departures, T.J. Jones best in class, D.K. Metcalf, Ole Miss, Marquise Brown, Oklahoma, A.J. Brown, Ole Miss, first-round possibilities for Detroit, 8th overall, Nunde 2-3 fits, Paris Campbell, Ohio State, Hakeem Butler, Iowa State, Deebo Samuel, South Carolina, N'Keal Harry, Arizona State, Andy Isabella, UMass, late-round possibilities, Gary Jennings, West Virginia, Stanley Morgan, Nebraska, Dylan Mitchell, Oregon. Breakdown. Once upon a time, the Lions had one of the deepest receiver corps in the league. And that time wasn't all that long ago. They rolled into last season with Kenny Golladay penciled in as their WR3. Yes, that Kenny Golladay, who went on to post the first 1,000-yard season of his young career. He's always looked the part of a WR1, and he made that transformation before our very eyes last season. One of the most encouraging developments of a difficult 2018. Problem is, he was also the only one doing much of anything down the stretch. Golden Tate was dealt to Philadelphia at the trade deadline, which forced also-rans like Bruce Ellington and Andy Jones into starting roles. You don't go from Golden Tate to Bruce Ellington without losing something, and Matthew Stafford was worse off for it. Though the silver lining is getting back a third-round pick in this week's draft, of course, losing Marvin Jones to a season-ending injury didn't help either. He's back this year, which should provide some relief for Stafford and take some of the heat off Golladay. Jones is still just one season removed from a 1,000-yard campaign himself, remember. And the addition of Danny Amendola in free agency gives the Lions an experienced slot to complement the big two. But Amendola is probably little more than a stopgap solution. He caught 59 passes last year, but for just 575 yards and 1 touchdown. He ranked 65th at the position according to Pro Football Focus. Of course, playing in that dumpster fire in Miami might have something to do with it. But at 33 years old, you have to figure that even if he's better this season, he's not a long-term solution. The Lions could have their pick of the litter in this week's draft, with no receivers projected to be taken in the first 7 picks. That includes Mr. Biceps himself, D.K. Metcalf. But with the way this administration prioritizes high floors over high ceilings in the first round of the draft, and really valuing college production, it would be a surprise to see Detroit use a top 10 pick on a receiver who, yes, has upside, but wasn't even the No. 1 receiver at Ole Miss. Much more likely, Detroit fortifies its receiver depth on the second or third day of the draft. And there are options of all shapes and sizes. If the club is looking for an apples-to-apples replacement for Golden Tate, it could do a lot worse than Deebo Samuel. At 5'11", he plays the position almost like a running back. He averaged 6.2 yards on 25 career runs and scored 7 touchdowns. That's in addition to the 16 he scored through the air. He doesn't get knocked off his routes easily and can pick up yards after the catch better than just about anybody in this class. Sound familiar? Only problem is it might take a second-round pick to get him. If the Lions prefer speed over size in the slot, maybe Andy Isabella will interest them. He arrived at UMass as a running back but was moved to receiver after some dominating performances on the scout team. Smart move. Among the 234 FBS receivers who ran at least 300 routes last year, Isabella ranked first in yards per route run and 17th in passer rating when targeted according to Pro Football Focus. In fact, he was the number 1 overall receiver in the country according to PFF. Impressive stuff when you consider every single defense knew exactly where the ball was going every time UMass stepped on the field. And it really matches up with what Quinn was saying last week about valuing production in the scouting process. If the Lions want both speed and size, Ohio State's Paris Campbell could draw a long look in the second round. He needs some work as a route runner, but he has the physical profile to break a defense too. Just ask Jim Harbaugh about that. Maybe the Lions feel good with Amendola and Brandon Powell in the slot, and are open to taking another outside receiver, perhaps someone who can succeed Marvin Jones in a year or two. If so, Hakeem Butler should be considered. At 6'6", you're just not going to find better size in this draft. He knows how to use it too, winning contested deep balls regularly. His quarterbacks had a passer rating of 133.0 when targeting him deep, according to PFF, 5th best in this draft. And hey, he's already working out with Calvin Johnson. Let's block ads.